With the current state of the economy, the Optimum Capital Management Organization has created programs to boost the financial security in the housing, school, and church markets. With us now is CEO Ryan Mack. We welcome you again to the show.
Nice
Always
to see
a
you
pleasure
again.
to see you. Always coming with a wealth of information that
We're trying to
can
keep it
use,
moving.
especially in these economic times. It's tough out there.
Well, we have to have a dramatic change in culture, and that's what we've been trying to advocate. Because, for instance, in 2000, we had the culture dictated that individuals purchase stocks without knowing about how to purchase stocks. And what happened? We had a recession. The market went down. That dragged the entire economy down. So we have to have now the change in culture dictates us to be educated about how to purchase homes, because we've all seen about what happens if we don't get educated when we purchase homes responsibly. Now we have record foreclosures, and now you just saw the story earlier in your show. We're beating doors down. We're in the middle of a recession, but we're beating doors down, killing people to try to spend money.
Yeah.
So we have to have a change in culture to make sure that we are trying to avoid excessive consumption. Consumption itself is not bad, but excessive consumption really have to try to avoid.
What didn't we do right as far as in 2001, get involved in the stock market?
Well, 2000, what happened was we were driven by greed and a lack of knowledge. And greed dictated that we have to, other individuals, just like that lemming mentality. One lemming goes, everybody else wants to follow. So one person, a lot of people made money off of stocks, but you know what, let's just try to follow and jump into the stock market, even though this company's trading at $100 a share, hadn't made $1 in its existence, so let's try to purchase that. Now that company it went bankrupt a few weeks later. So that drove the entire market down. And what happened when that market went down, money went from stocks to real estate and gold. The real estate market started to jump. Mortgage brokers said, you know what, we can make a lot of commission by selling mortgages because everybody's purchasing homes. Lenders said, you know what, we can make even more money by the subprime market because we can charge higher interest. So the corporation got a little greedy. The government said, you know what, we're not going to regulate as much as we should because we're getting a lot of tax revenue from it. And then the individuals are still purchasing homes, and the next thing you know, they're trying to flip property, they're trying to sell it. They go through foreclosure. The entire market
this was tied in all over the world.
Yes, it does.
I mean, people got into the stock market. People got into the housing market. Then the mortgage companies got into it and started investing those mortgages, and it became part of a big mess.
The Lehmans and the Bear Stearns, and they took those mortgages and they started to create things called credit default swaps, and we need to get into the technicality of those things, but they actually essentially insuring mortgages and selling them in secondary markets, and that was traded across the world internationally, and next thing you know, these asset-backed securities and mortgage-backed securities that were based on the value of these homes, when people started foreclosing, those securities started to get a little bit weaker.
So the bottom started falling out.
Yeah, then the bottom just fell out because the corporations were greedy and they didn't pay attention to basic finance 101 and diversifying your assets. And then individuals, they were trying to flip property, or they were signing these 50-page documents without getting adequate information of how to purchase a home responsibly.
So basically, this was an upside-down pyramid that they were building upon. You build a pyramid, you got a strong foundation. It's vast, it's wide on the bottom, and it comes to a point. But then they had the point on the bottom and the heavy part on top. And it was so when the mortgage foreclosure took place, that point.
The problem the mortgages problem was exacerbated by the credit default swaps because Wall Street was essentially betting on the fact that mortgage owners, these individuals taking out the mortgages, were going to default. So when they defaulted, the problem was exacerbated because a lot of these hedge funds were saying, hey, Lehman Brothers, you owe me X amount of $1 billion because we had this derivative that we took out on you. Lehman Brothers said, well, I don't have the money. Lehman Brothers went down, the money markets went down, and next thing you know, you saw this ripple effect that just went throughout the entire economy that really could have been avoided without excessive greed by corporations and a higher knowledge by individuals just taking the time to research how they could purchase homes in a responsible manner.
But then we're taking our own money and we're putting it right back into it. Taxpayers' money.
We have over estimates of over $2 trillion. It's already being put in. By the time it's all said and done, over $8 trillion will be invested into our banks. I mean, we saw this $800 billion lending package, or the $700 billion with about $130 billion worth of earmarks attached to it. That's one segment. There's been over $2 trillion worth of funds being given out by the feds that's not under the funding lending package, and they were created under about 11 programs, 8 which were created by the FDIC since this economic crisis has happened, and the banks aren't even telling us where the collateral is coming from and where the money is going. So we're giving out money hand over fist, essentially going deeper and deeper into debt into companies overseas like China, to governments overseas like China, and we're borrowing, and we're essentially borrowing funds just to try to put back in this economy.
Yeah, yeah. If you were a part of President-elect Barack Obama's economic team, what would you tell him?
Well, first of all, I really love Barack Obama. I was a Barack Obama supporter, and I really love the fact that he has the bottom-up approach. I would say that we really have to stick to that bottom-up approach, because his campaign was successful not because of lobbyists and PAC money, but because the individuals got together and said, we can together make a change. We can still use that same approach with this getting this economic crisis to turn around by educating, using preventative measures, making sure people are aware of all these traps like check cashing places, like rent-a centers, you know, like these prepaid debit cards.
And that's what you're doing in the churches. They're going to give me a hard rap, so I want you to get the information out of what you're doing in the churches and the schools.
And what we're doing in the public housing communities and in the churches, and make sure in the schools, we're trying to educate individuals about the dangers of prepaid debit cards, like the Rush card that's so famous, like avoiding check cashing places, open up your own bank accounts, making sure we're educated about the right ways to save money, to budget, to avoid predatory insurance and lending practices, and educate yourselves in the best way.
How can we contact you?
Well, that's 718-623-3423 or 919-599-9464 or www.optimumcapitalmanagement.com.
Mr. President Ryan Mack, Optimal Capital Management, Financial Planning, and Cost Efficiency. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And always come back, because we, at least let them come back at least once a month so we can, update our public as to, create the awareness as to what's going on in our community economically. Unfortunately, we reached the conclusion of today's show, and we'd like to thank all of our guests and you for stopping by, and of course, you, our viewers, for tuning in. And we hope that this show was enjoyable and informative to you. And if you missed any part of this, don't worry, we got you covered like a blanket. Just tune in tonight at 6:30 p.m. and again at 10 p.m. for the Recablecast. And don't forget to join my main man, Darren Jaime. He comes on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock in the morning. Remember this, what you are is God's gift to you, and what you make of yourself is your gift to God. So choose your choice, and let your choice control the chooser. I'm Bob Lee, and from all of us here, happy holiday. Have a great, enjoyable day. Bye.